for many people, the meaning of work is to put food on the table, to have a shelter, to just get the basics of life, and um, that is as valid as to be able to be psychologically fulfilled by the kind of work you do. I mean, we have to think about what's the future of work as what's the future of populations and society. And that's what Nestor, I think, is trying to say, that we live in these communities and we have to worry about each of us have to worry about the society at large and how we're going to be sure that people are, one, able to sustain themselves and their daily needs. That comes first, and that has to do with either the society taking care of them or for them to find meaningful ways to take care of themselves and find fulfillment through work, right? And so um what I think we're talking about is the opportunity to say that work is a calling, that it has a purpose, in that it has multiple purposes, but a purpose in first providing you with the opportunity to live the kind of life you envision for yourself. And I think the future of work for me has to do with the future of teaching people about work, because there is no such thing as work-life balance. Forget it, those days are over. Work-life balance used to be, when you were the family unit farming and trying to just get the food out of the ground and all sharing the responsibilities, and everybody taking their turn at doing what they needed to be able to harvest the crops. Well, we're well beyond that. And so we have to teach people early on, starting in just the youngest days, that work-life integration, that work is part of your life. And so you have to find ways of taking control of your own destiny in that regard. And we have to start looking at children and helping them to identify their skills and talents, giving them the tools to acquire knowledge, because jobs that we may have in 25 years may not be the jobs you envision in 50 years. So how do you continually become a learner and reskill and take responsibility? And I think, that bears very well for coaches, because, we're here to assist people on that journey of gaining the knowledge that they need, both personally and professionally, right? And it's just really interesting, because just recently I've interacted with several technology entrepreneurs who are developing technologies that people could go on their own guided journeys for their development, to find ways to develop their skills. And one of the products is for what we call the underemployed, people that have not had access to jobs because they don't know the basics: how to apply, how to write a resume, how to be interviewed, how to write an email. We just take those things for granted, and we have to teach those skills. Those are like basic skills. If we want people to be employed, we have to teach them skills that can get them employment. And meaningful employment, and singing to your soul, and finding things that give you flow and satisfy you, that comes next. But first you have to just give people the basic wherewithal to be able to find employment, and to cultivate their interest and their skills, and to find their inner purpose, their calling in life. And I think, for me, that's one place we need to start. And then we can't count on organizations anymore to take that responsibility. We have to teach individuals, and to be mentors, to take responsibility for their own development, to find ways to go on guided journeys to find their purpose and meaning. I counsel young people trying to get their first internship, to senior executives that are trying to make acquisitions. And purpose and meaning is something that always comes up in the conversation, and you know, people want to find that purpose and meaning in their work, but again, it's takes a long time to have that dialogue, and we should be starting that dialogue at a much earlier point in time, uh, and providing opportunity for people to learn about careers. I find so many people that graduate colleges, or that graduate high schools, or that finally have to contribute to their families, and they don't have even the faintest idea of what they could do, or how work operates, or the world of work operates. And so we have to do a much better job at that.
Marlon, I wonder what your thoughts are, because I know that you really take an organizational perspective when thinking about the future of work and the role of organizations and businesses. And
I always like to think of all of us in this, with this vision of being all members of a community, and in all the leadership trainings that I do, I highlight the importance of personal leadership, of you taking the lead, of yourself, of your organization, of your team, regardless of the rank that you have in the organization. And on the other hand, I can see how if we wanted to really bring about rapid change, which I think we kind of agree that it's really very important to see that rapid change approaching or becoming true, then we do need to think also about the consciousness of the organization itself. So I like to think about the future of work in a way. The idea that comes to mind are the pillars of well-being that Bhutan has developed in their country, and that they have these important pillars, or ethical standards, or the important things that are the guiding forces of new policies, of new products being developed. And I think it would be wonderful if we were able to think about what Nestor was saying about this human team, that takes into account as pillars of well-being different, we can think about many different things, but the idea that comes easier for me is to think about pollution, as you also mentioned, Nestor, and how can we evaluate if the companies are really doing something that will bring about more added value and benefit to the world, or is it taking resources and health away from this large pool of resources that we have as humans? When I think about human beings, I also think about human dignity, because that can happen regardless of the place that you have in this organizational diagram. You can bring about dignity in letting people in the organization know that they are adding value. If it's, cleaning the restroom, if it's serving food in the kitchen, like, those people have a tremendous impact in the well-being of the whole organization, especially when we met physically at some, at the same place. But I think bringing again in education, as Dana was saying, human values to the table, and understanding that work was created to serve humanity. It was not the other way around. It was not humans being created to serve work or serve organizations. So understanding the real purpose. And I know some organizations are working on like helping their collaborators make their dreams come true. So initiating these dialogues where we can see what does, what do people in our organization value, and how can we be of service and become servant leaders to make those wishes come true and to enable or be of service for those people to take on the leadership in their own lives. It's not that the organization needs to now take care of individual dreams, but really understanding what the fabric of the organization is really like. Um, and I want to just mention two other things. One is the importance of autonomy in organizations, like people feeling they are autonomous and they can really bring about change for themselves and for the world around them. And this idea of intrapreneurship that I talked to you about, which is this capacity that some people have in organizations to become active leaders and entrepreneurs within organizations. And that has, I think, is proven. I don't know that it has proven totally, but it's proven to be a nice way to invite more autonomy, more leadership, more creativity, and also a sense of purpose and meaning to the workplace.
I think I so agree with everything you said. It's amazing that during the pandemic, we labeled a whole group of individuals as essential workers, right? The people, the clerks in the grocery stores, the people who are delivery people, and all of a sudden, the value of their esteem, because we saw them as heroes. They were rescuing us. They were taking care of the rest of us while we were hiding out in our electronic cottages. And, it changed the perception of how the worker felt about themselves and about how we felt about a whole group of workers that always contributed to our lives, but we didn't see them or reward them in the same regard. And I think in companies, and I write about this in my book, we need to always say to people, you're doing a good job at what you do really well. And they don't have to move up a ladder to get more money or more status or more rewards in the system. We have to say, you're valued by this community for the type of work you do. And people want to be associated. The future of work is the same as the past of work. People want to feel good about what they do and feel valued at what they do and be respected for the work that they do. And I think, regardless of how many machines we bring in the workplace and how data drives us and AI, and people will still want to feel that they're making the contribution to one another. That's the point I was trying to make about anthropologically, we're social creatures. We want to be we want to live communally, and autonomy is really important, because if we micromanage and don't give people a voice and an opportunity to feel like, they can be their authentic selves at work, then, again, going to the future, that's going to be as problematic uh, for organizations, because you want people to feel that they can bring innovation, bring ideas, bring their authentic self to work.